Whatever you're about to share, it's big, not just big, monumental. The kind of truth that shakes the ground beneath their feet, shatters illusions, and rewrites the entire narrative. You've held on to this for so long, watching, waiting, letting them believe their lies would stand unchallenged. You took the high road, not because you were weak, but because you knew the right moment would come, and that moment is now. They played the fool, they ran wild, they thought they got away with it. But what happens when the truth comes out? When you finally speak, there's no turning back. Betrayal never comes from strangers. It's the ones you trusted, the ones you defended, the ones you let close enough to know your fears, your past, your weaknesses. They took that knowledge and used it as a weapon, cutting you down while smiling, to your face. The weight of their actions settled deep in your chest, a suffocating pressure that made you question everything. Your worth, your instincts, your ability to trust again. And while you sat in silence, trying to make sense of the wreckage, they carried on as if nothing happened. But you weren't the only one who noticed. They knew what they did. That's why they started whispering, twisting the story before you had a chance to speak. They painted themselves as victims, as misunderstood souls who simply made a mistake. They hoped that if they rewrote the narrative fast enough, no one would ever hear your side. And most of all, they prayed you wouldn't find the strength to correct them. Their greatest fear was never your anger. It was your clarity, because if you ever stood up and spoke, if you ever laid the truth bare for the world to see, their carefully constructed facade would shatter. And so they prayed, not for your healing, not for forgiveness, but for your silence. Because as long as you stayed quiet, they could keep pretending they were innocent. For too long, you carried yourself with grace. You bit your tongue, choosing dignity over retaliation. You told yourself that silence was strength, that walking away was the best revenge. And for a while, maybe it was. But there's a difference between choosing peace and being manipulated into submission. There's a difference between rising above and being buried under the weight of someone else's lies. The high road was never meant to be a prison. It was meant to be a choice, a path you take when you know the battle isn't worth your energy. But what happens when the high road only benefits those who hurt you? What happens when your silence is mistaken for weakness, when your restraint becomes their safety net? Enough. The time for silence is over. Speaking your truth isn't about vengeance. It isn't about proving anything to them. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of their deception. It's about reclaiming your story before they erase it completely. The high road doesn't mean walking away from your own voice. And today, you choose to speak. They have prayed for your silence, cloaking their deceit in false righteousness, hoping that their whispered supplications would keep you bound. They have called on the heavens, not for justice, not for atonement, but for your obedience, to ensure that you remain voiceless, compliant, unwilling to disrupt the illusion they have so carefully maintained. They wear faith like armor, not to protect themselves from their own sins, but to shield them from the reckoning they know is coming. But prayer is not a shield against truth. The same divine forces they invoke have been listening, not just to them, but to you. Every tear you've shed in solitude, every silent plea for clarity and strength has been heard. And while they plot in the shadows, believing their words hold power over your fate, they fail to see the forces that stand behind you. You are not alone. The hands that guide you are stronger than the ones that seek to silence you. So let them pray, let them beg and plead for their secrets to stay buried. It won't save them. Truth is not deterred by desperation. It does not bend to the will of those who fear it. Their prayers will crumble beneath the weight of what is coming, and when the dust settles, you will still be standing, free, unshackled, unafraid. Even on your worst day, you're still winning. They tried to snatch your crown, thinking you wouldn't notice. They tried to rewrite your story, hoping you'd stay silent. They wanted your life, your love, your blessings. But let's be real, they could never handle them. And here's the gag. Even at your lowest, even when you were doubting, Even when they thought you were down for good, you were still ahead. They were competing against you, but you weren't even in the race. And now, you're stepping into something greater. Not just an upgrade, a full transformation. Not just healing, a complete rebirth. The old titles, gone. The roles you never wanted, dropped. The expectations they tried to chain you with, shattered. You are finally free. Free to stand in your truth. Free to own your power. Free to become what they feared most, your full, unstoppable, authentic self. And guess what? They can't handle it. They never could. Your peace is driving them insane. Your enemies spent years plotting, competing, slandering. They tried to ruin your name. They tried to steal your essence. They tried to mirror you, copy you, be you. They swore if they just kept attacking, kept throwing shade, kept sending energy your way, you'd break, you'd fold, you'd disappear. But instead, you got calmer, happier, stronger. You stopped playing their game. You stopped entertaining their nonsense. You stopped giving a damn. And now? They can't fake it anymore. The ones who bragged they were winning, losing everything. The ones who swore they were happy, miserable beyond belief. The ones who pretended they didn't care, can't stop watching your every move. The ones who thought you'd never find love. You're radiating. The ones who thought you'd stay small. You're taking over. They are seething. Because everything they threw at you, it's backfiring. Every spell, every smear, every hateful word, it's hitting them tenfold. Your peace is a weapon they never saw coming. And now, they're drowning in the war they started. You are the final boss. They spent years scheming, stealing, plotting. They tried to take what was never theirs. They used tricks, lies, manipulation, thinking it would last forever. But you played the long game. You let them dig their own grave. You stayed silent while they ran their mouths. And now, reality just smacked them in the face. The illusions are gone. The fake power they flexed crumbled. The control they thought they had shattered. Because here's what they never saw coming. You're no longer holding back. You've got receipts, wisdom, power. And when you speak, the entire playing field shifts. When you move, the whole game changes. They thought they had a chance. They never did. You were always the final boss. And now, they're facing their defeat. Karma does not wait for permission. It moves silently, weaving through their lives, unraveling their comfort piece by piece. They thought they had escaped, that their actions would remain buried beneath the weight of your silence. But the universe does not forget. Their relationships falter, their finances dwindle, their carefully curated reputations begin to crack. And they wonder why. They wonder if it's just misfortune, if the world is suddenly against them, never realizing that the energy they put into deception is returning to them in full force. Desperation clings to them now. They scramble to hold on to what is slipping through their fingers, masking their downfall with forced smiles and empty reassurances. But the fear is there, just beneath the surface, gnawing at them with every whispered rumor, every sideways glance, every moment they realize they are losing control. They will try to redirect, to shift the blame, to make it seem as though you are the villain. But it will not work. The truth they feared is no longer a distant threat. It is here, and it is relentless. You do not have to lift a finger. You do not have to seek revenge. The weight of their own actions will crush them, and they will have no one to blame but themselves. This is the law of balance, the inevitable return of all they have sown. Watch as it unfolds. Watch as justice takes shape in ways they never expected. The truth is a force they never prepared for. It does not creep in quietly, does not ask for permission. It crashes through their carefully built lies, shaking the foundations they once thought were unbreakable. They spent so much time weaving, A narrative, so much effort ensuring that their version of events was the only one that would be heard. But now, their voices are drowned out by something far more powerful: reality. And reality does not cater to their comfort. You will see the panic in their eyes, the frantic scrambling as they try to control the damage. They will deny, deflect, and play the victim in a desperate attempt to maintain the illusion. But the cracks are already too deep. Their downfall was never in your hands. It was in their own choices, their own arrogance, their belief that they could move through the world without consequence. Now they are forced to stand in the ruins of their deception, exposed for all to see, and no amount of excuses will save them. Their carefully curated facade is beginning to collapse, and they know it. The whispered conversations, the shifting glances, the growing discomfort of those who once stood beside them, all signs that the truth is spreading. The weight of their own actions is finally pressing down, suffocating them in the same way they once tried to suffocate you. They are running out of places to hide. But this isn't just about them. Your truth is not just a weapon against lies. It is a beacon for those who have suffered in silence, a reminder that they are not alone. When you speak, you give others permission to do the same. And one by one, the voices that were once drowned out rise together, shattering the silence that once protected the guilty. This is bigger than revenge. This is revolution. And revolution doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for approval. It moves like fire, consuming the falsehoods, lighting the way for those who have been left in the dark for too long. You are not just telling your story, you are breaking a cycle, and that is something they will never be able to silence. And now, let us take a brief moment to honor the chosen among us. Here's to the ones who see the world differently, the silent guardians, the watchful souls, always awake, always vigilant. They don't fit the mold, and they wouldn't have it any other way. While others walk familiar paths, they forge their own, fighting unseen battles, illuminating the shadows. It's not for everyone, and that's okay. But if you feel it deep within, you'll know this is meant for you. No masks, no pretense, just truth. The Obsidian Inner Order is here, a place where kindred spirits gather to share wisdom, to connect, to transform. Over 450 strong, united not by conformity but by purpose. If you're ready, you know where to find us. The link is in the description. If not, that's perfectly fine. Because we're always here, watching over, making a difference in ways unseen. Here's to those who walk their own path, not for recognition, but because it's who they are. Here's to you. Thank you. Betrayal is never just an isolated act. It ripples through every corner of your life, seeping into relationships, forcing you to question the people you once trusted. Sometimes it comes from blood, from those who were supposed to protect you, yet chose to stand with the ones who hurt you. They knew the truth, or at the very least, suspected it, but instead of defending you, they chose silence. Their loyalty was not to justice, but to comfort, to keeping the peace, even if that peace required your suffering. And when you finally speak, they will call you bitter, dramatic, ungrateful, because your truth makes them uncomfortable. Then there are the ones who smiled to your face while secretly hoping for your downfall. Co-workers, so-called friends, people who thrived on your struggle because it made them feel superior. The jealousy, the quiet competition, the way they whispered behind your back but clapped when you walked into the room. It was all a game to them. They wanted you to doubt yourself, to stay small, to never realize your own power. But they failed to understand one thing. Every betrayal only sharpened you. Every time they tried to diminish you, they only revealed more about themselves. Now, they watch in fear as you rise, as the truth unravels, as the lies they clung to fall apart. They are scrambling to rewrite history, to pretend they were always on your side. But you remember. You remember the silence when you needed support, the excuses when you needed honesty, the way they turned away when it no longer benefited them to stand beside you. They thought you wouldn't notice, that you wouldn't be strong enough to call it out. But time has a way of exposing what was, always there. They will say you have changed, but the truth is, you have only returned to yourself. You are no longer filtering your words to make others comfortable. You are no longer dimming your light to let them shine. The days of carrying the weight of their deception in silence are over. If they wanted to be remembered differently, they should have acted differently. Some betrayals are lessons and some are warnings, and now you know the difference. You always knew, long before the truth came crashing down, before the masks slipped, before the betrayals revealed themselves. You felt it, that uneasy stirring in your gut, the whispers of intuition that told you something wasn't right, but you doubted yourself. You second-guessed, silenced the voice inside you because you wanted to believe in them more than you believed in your own knowing. You gave them the benefit of the doubt, even when every instinct told you not to. But the awakening came, as it always does. The pieces began to align, the patterns became undeniable, and suddenly everything made sense. What you once dismissed as paranoia was actually foresight. What you once ignored was your spirit screaming for you to see what was right in front of you. And now you trust it. You no longer wait for proof to validate what your soul already understands. They fooled you once, but they will never fool you again. They thought they could stay ahead of you, that their deception was clever enough to outmaneuver your intuition. But what they didn't realize is that you were never blind. You were patient. You watched, you listened, you let them think they were winning. And now, the truth has unfolded exactly as you always knew it would. The signs were never absent. You just weren't ready to accept them yet. But now, you do. Because divine timing is never late. Every revelation happened exactly when it needed to. Every moment of clarity arrived with precision, stripping away illusions and leaving only the truth. It was never about exposing them. It was about preparing you. The universe wasn't punishing you. It was training you to see, to trust, to move differently. And now, you stand fully in it, no longer questioning, no longer hesitating. You see everything, and that is your greatest power. The lies, the manipulation, the games they played, it's all beneath you now. There is no need for anger, no need for revenge, because nothing they do can touch you anymore. You are beyond their reach, walking a path they will never understand. And that is the ultimate justice. You were never alone in this battle. For every whisper meant to break you, there were voices praying for your strength. For every betrayal that tried to shake your foundation, there were hands steadying you, seen and unseen. Your support system, whether near or far, has been a fortress, some standing beside you in the physical, others lifting you in spirit, reminding you of who you are when the world tried to make you forget. Even in your darkest moments, you were never abandoned. And that's what they envied the most. Not just your resilience, not just your truth, but the love that surrounds you. They wanted you isolated, wanted you to believe no one would stand with you once the truth came out. Because without support, they thought you would crumble, but energy doesn't lie. The ones who were meant to be in your corner never wavered. They saw through the deception, through the manipulation, through the attempts to rewrite reality. And now, as the reckoning unfolds, as justice moves through the spaces they thought were untouchable, you are held, not by fear, not by anger, but by the collective force of those who believe in you. Their desperation only grows as they watch you rise. They have seen their own alliances begin to fracture, their once loyal enablers stepping away, no longer willing to carry the weight of their deception. They never considered that truth has a way of gathering momentum that once it starts to spread, it becomes undeniable. People are waking up. The whispers they once controlled are slipping from their grasp, turning into conversations, into realizations, into undeniable facts. And no matter how much they try to contain it, They cannot rewrite what has already been seen. Their prayers for your downfall were drowned out by the prayers for your rise. Their attempts to break you were met with a wall of protection they never saw coming. This is the power of alignment, the strength of those who walk in truth. You are not just one voice. You are many. You are carried by the energy of every person who has ever been silenced, every soul who has ever been wronged, every heart that beats for justice. And together you are unstoppable. This is the moment everything changes. No more second-guessing, no more swallowing your truth for the comfort of others. You have drawn your line in the sand, and there is no turning back. They will try to test you, to push you back into silence, to make you question whether speaking out was the right choice. But the difference now is that you don't waver, you don't bend, you don't explain yourself to those who were never listening in the first place. And they feel it, the weight of their actions, the inevitability of their consequences. They fought so hard to keep control, but control was never theirs to keep. The reckoning is here, and they know it. Every attempt to rewrite history fails. Under the weight of the truth, every excuse falls apart in the face of undeniable reality. They wanted you to be afraid of this moment, but now, as it unfolds, they are the ones trembling. So stand tall, speak boldly, walk forward without looking back. You have already won, not through revenge, not through anger, but through truth. And truth is unshakable. Their time is up. Yours is just beginning.